Everyone. Welcome to the first episode of our podcast, which is called Let's Awaken Together. I'm here with my sister. My name is Ashmita. Here's Tavleen with me, and we are here to, bring through a podcast for all of you, where we'll talk about our own spiritual awakening journey, as well as we'll also channel a lot of guidance for all of y'all who are on your own individual awakening journeys. And we come in here as two souls, as well as two sisters who've woken up in a family system and how it feels like, what we've learned, how the journey is like. A lot of times people who are awakening also want their family members to awaken. And in this scenario, in this particular space, we both have experienced a collective awakening. So we would love to bring that through this podcast. Tavleen, what do you feel about this podcast, the vision, the purpose? You can talk about it now.
You've been doing this for a very long time, and I was like on my own path, and I think for the longest time we wanted to kind of synchronize, and we kind of wanted to collaborate and do something, but um, the energies were just not like, we didn't feel like a sense of alignment, like, we were on different tangents. So even though we had so much to share, but I think just the way it all came together, and the way I think it's just like just you and me just talking. So even when we talk normally on phone, like there is like, we'll discuss an entire gamut of psychology, philosophy, and all of that. So I think it only made sense to put it out there so that everybody could like hear us out and see, maybe it helps connect some dots for somebody at some place, which we could collectively empower, which we could collectively make it happen. So I think that's like the only intention really, to be able to help somebody else's dots connect. Everybody who is on this journey of awakening, of realizing who they truly are, and sort of meeting with their core essence, they are essentially looking for a community. They are looking for a space where they can find other people like them. Otherwise it can be a very isolating and a very lonely kind of a journey, where you're like, okay, am I stupid to question this? Why am I questioning this conditioning of mine, which my parents have been upholding, my uncles and aunts have been doing it so well. I see my cousins, like, they're not questioning, like they are enjoying this, and they're the flag bearers of it. So and then you just start to feel like you are like not the you are an outcast, or you are, you're not normal. So yeah, so we just want to normalize questioning. Also, I think we want to normalize um spirituality as something which is not outside of us, as something which is not like this esoteric concept, this abstract concept, this field which is only for like how I used to always think, like, after 40 I'll probably talk about these things, even though probably I wanted to talk about it like from 25 year onwards. But I was like, no, it's not the right age. So I think we have a lot of notions around it, about who should be talking about it, and whether you're qualified enough to talk about it or not. So, but then there's only one life, and I think like we should be questioning it. We should be really understanding who we are and trying to really connect with our true essence. So that's, I think, really the purpose for me. And yeah, that's, I think, where I got in touch with you, and I said, we should do it because let's just share our notes, right? So what do you think? Like, where like, because you talk to a lot of people, you have a lot of clients. So I wanted to actually understand, like, what do you think, like, where are people generally in the metrics right now, and what is your sense of where does the world need healing right now? Where are they hurting essentially?
I do speak to a lot of people from all over the world and try to understand their journey. And what I really feel is that a lot of us really get stuck in our own suffering stories. And this is what I was thinking about today, that we hold so dearly the stories of suffering and we make it our identity, that this is what I'm going through, this is what I've been through, or this never works out for me. So, this whole story of suffering and the emotions attached to it becomes our identity. And of course, as it becomes our identity and our vibration, then we move into that direction of just replaying it. Did my journey, I was suffering intensely. One of the realizations I had was that I don't want to suffer like this. And so a lot of us who are awakening, the reason why we do that is because we want to find a way out of our suffering. We don't no longer want to accept it. While pain is, like Buddha says, is inevitable and a part of this reality here on earth, suffering is optional. So any one of us who is looking and seeking to come out of our own sufferings, if any one of you is like really seeking to get out of your suffering in life, and you want to experience more joy, more ease, more abundance. You want to be able to release this whole how density of emotions, trauma, suffering, all of that, and you want to ease out the weight you're holding on to and ease out your life. I feel for them, like this space, this podcast could really help. And I feel like that's where most of us get stuck in, is when we are
Yeah,
holding on too tight, but also with
that
those who are
stories, those
awakening.
stories.
Yeah, those who are awakening are moving towards finding a new identity, are moving
Mm.
towards finding a new way of living and thinking. And that's what gets you out of that stuckness, that whole matrix where you just get stuck and you're not able to live beyond. And I feel boomers were the
Mm.
ones who accepted their sufferings a lot. And I feel like millennials are the ones who are questioning it and are like, we no longer want to accept what
Yeah, and
is
like that's what we were discussing, and then the Gen Z is like born awake. They're woke from the get-go, like from the womb, woke from the womb. Like I think that's who they are. So yeah, and yeah, because like they don't really accept a lot of things easily, and yeah, I think it's really different world for them for sure. So and I remember, like, I guess about 4 years ago or something, like, you had taught me everything about pain body and about Eckhart Tolle, and how we have this whole muscle memory of, this is who we are, this is kind of, these are the pains that we carry, the suffering that we carry. So would it be then fair to say that we are all under like a mutual um hypnotic spell, which now science is also calling it a collective dream. So everybody is like dreaming together, and we're all in each other's dreams, and we're playing like the most important role in our own dream. But then there are like all these other characters in our dream, and then we're also in their dream and stuff. So that is how, like, there's like this whole hypnotic spell going on. And we I've also kind of begun to understand that we have like subconscious loyalty towards people who are seeing the same dream as us, who have the same beliefs as us, and we want to kind of stay at that level so that we can continue, like, like a friend, if a friend of mine keeps saying, oh, like, this is hard, that is hard, like making money is very hard, oh, the world is cruel or something. And then even I kind of really I'm continuing being friends with her because I have some sort of a subconscious loyalty towards her, that if I break away from these fundamental beliefs, then I would no longer be a part of her gang. So we got to be uh, telling the same stories to ourselves. We got, so it's like, if you and I, if we both like bond over let's say a Big Boss, and we talk about it, then like we're going to be best of friends because we love gossiping about what's happening inside the house. Whereas if you kind of shift your loyalties and go towards like maybe Beverly Hills, or you start watching Discovery or History Channel or something, then we have nothing common to talk about. So either I kind of tune into your channel and I also start resonating with the concepts and ideas, then we can maybe start talking about history and quantum physics and all of that. But if I continue being at the Big Boss level, then I want to talk to you about, hey, you remember what happened in that episode? And then if you're no longer available for those kind of conversations, then unfortunately the friendship cannot last, right? So then you will either continue being in the. So right now, what is essentially happening is like more and more people are kind of tuning to better channels, And then there's the family unit, there are our friends who are saying, what are you doing? Like, we were watching this channel for like many lifetimes together, and suddenly you decided, so you're not loyal to our tradition, you're not loyal to our culture, and you're such a disgrace. Why are you changing channels? Like, do you think like that's the sort of thing that's happening right now, like where people are really struggling with the new identity because the old people aren't serving them anymore, and they're like, don't leave our gang.
Absolutely. And I feel like our relationship is a testament of what happens when one person in the family raises their vibration or chooses to raise their consciousness. Um, so if you remember, like when I started my spiritual awakening journey, like all of y'all used to might be judging me a lot. There was a lot of love and acceptance also from everyone. I feel my
Yeah, but there was more probing and more questioning and more like, who does this at 22 years of age? Like, you must be crazy to even be thinking about something like this. Because in my head, you do this at 45 years of age. So I was very married to that kind of a belief that, that's not spiritual awakening has an age. It's not supposed to come early, because where's the experience? Where's the exposure? Like, that's how I used to think.
even though like there were little moments of judgment, there was still a lot of love and acceptance for what I was doing. Or I didn't let it affect me because I had this understanding that there will be an opposition or lack of understanding from all of you all. So I was not expecting anything other than that. So even like when the acceptance came, I was like happy about it. And when the judgment came, yes, I felt bad, and it probably became a part of something that I had to self-reflect upon and work on it. But what eventually happened is that as I stayed, on my path, as I strengthened my own path and my journey, and I didn't let anything else deter me from it, is when automatically I saw like all of us were collectively moving towards a higher vibration, and all of us were collectively awakening. And so that was very beautiful for me to watch, because one one of the possibilities could have been like to stay together. I could have chosen to stay on that same path and not awaken, and we like get judged by
Like
everyone.
further our yeah, like further our our promise of being the good old girls, and yeah, like following the conventional path. Because I think, because you're 7 years younger to me, but because I'm 7 years elder, right? So basically, I think on me the pressure of sticking to the convention was very high. Like, you either be a doctor or be an engineer, and otherwise you're a complete disgrace to the family. So I was just trying to fit into the box that was sort of defined for me, where the good girls fit. So so I always felt like this really strong subconscious loyalty towards my parents, towards our parents, for being a certain way, and anything that was not following the norm, and that wasn't if I wasn't like as good as our uncles' daughters, or our aunts' children, then it just felt like I was never good enough. And I think for me, like when you said the word suffering, I think it seems like a very strong word, but the truth is that even if you are constantly feeling like you're not good enough and you're falling short, and you are constantly trying to compare yourself a lot, and reach to certain standards, and then you're not able to, that also, like that itself is a form of suffering. But our system, our metrics has normalized this so much that obviously, like, who even feels they are enough? you know who even feels they are enough? Who doesn't have self doubt? Isn't that supposed to be like your best friend? Isn't that a gift from your parents to you? So and so that is so normal that you really do not question. But even when I was writing, I used to write poems on like talking to my self doubt and saying that, why are you always here? Like, why are you always bothering me? Why are you never letting me do my thing? So, and there were so many patterns. There was a complete hypnotic spell behind it, which took the longest time for me to uncover. And I think that is why you've been instrumental in my journey, where you've helped me realize that I'm not this, I'm not my self-doubt, I'm not my limiting story. And I think that's where a lot of us are kind of awakening right now and questioning that hypnotic spell, questioning the suffering. So why do you think this is the right time for us to do this? Like, why do you think this is like this alignment had to wait for all this while, even though we had been speaking at different points and trying to make something work? Why do you think it had to happen at this point in time? Like, our paths had to cross. So, what makes it the right timing?
Just the fact that the idea came through, because before this the ideas weren't really coming through, or the inspiration wasn't really coming through. We were speaking about it, we were speaking about like doing a podcast together, or just doing a podcast where I interview you, because you've written now two books, and which were really like fully channeled books. They are literally coming from some other dimension and some other space altogether. So I really wanted to interview you and, understand that. So we were talking about this, but the idea of coming together as collaborators and, putting forward our podcast, I feel wasn't there before, because even the call for authentically showing up, I feel was somewhere not a priority up until now. And I feel like recently I've been guided to really be very, very authentic and show up just as I am. And I
Yeah.
feel this is a result of that, because
Yeah, and right. And I think what happened in my end was that I was like, like I'm standing at the cusp of like doing things, and then I'm like, okay, now I want to receive a lot of opportunities, and I want to be able to receive a lot of amazing work and stuff. But then I went into like these really strong hypnagogic states, and I, like altered states of consciousness. And I think what really came through was that, there is like this collaboration which you can easily be a part of, but something in you is still resisting it. So until like you go what's most accessible, because like they say, you grow where you're planted, right? So you're planted in a certain family. You have a sibling, and here is something possible, but you're like, oh no, not this, but something else. Can you not open that door? How about that door? And I'm looking at all these people like Deepak Chopras of the world, and I'm like, could you open all these doors for me? Like, all right, there is one that we are actually like, it's the nearest to you. Could you open that one first, and then kind of make your way out of there? So and that wouldn't strike me otherwise. So I think I really did access some very deeply meditative states, and I felt like a lot of work it was done on me. And I guess, yeah, I did exercise a lot of free will so that that work could be done on me, and which is where I just, that's how the first door opened, and I've kind of heard it. But yeah, so that's about us. But what do you think, like in terms of how is, do you think, the world right now kind of shaping up? Because there's a lot going on, and so you stay very active on Instagram, on social, and there's a whole movement going on right now. Like, I think everybody wants to talk about karmic cycles, everybody wants to talk about awakening, about their journeys, and about chakras, and so energy, subtle energy work, and all of that. So like when you look at the whole thing in terms of the collective, where do you think we are, in the history, in our own history, if we could just map it that ways, and how do you compare that to, our ancestors?
questioning is what is opening portals of new consciousness for all of us. The fact that we are questioning things, whether we're questioning existing structures, or the way things have been done, the status quo, the questions itself are portals to new consciousness. So when we start to question, when we start to ask, why is this way? Why do we have to do this? Because we've never questioned traditions or structures or the way things have been done. We've never really, our ancestors have never really questioned it so much as we are doing now. I feel because our ancestors were really busy just surviving, they were going through various wars, the Great Depression, partition, so many different things. So they were just very busy surviving, I feel, especially the most recent ones. And before them were, I feel, just living in communities, and they wanted to survive and be accepted in those communities. And so I feel like questioning never came in as a topic of discussion. Like, why is this happening the way it is happening? And a lot of us today are starting to question. A lot of us today are starting to ask um, and challenge things the way they've been done. And that is what's leading to awakening right now for all of us.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. Yes, I completely agree with you. I just feel that we are at a point in time where I think even it's because it's like a mass or a collective awakening going on, like as if the spirit guides have decided to be, really kind to us and really bless us. And they're saying, ask and you shall receive. And I think this has always been said, but now it's like a lot more prevalent because we're in the information age. We're in the age of AI where we are asking questions, we are receiving answers. So I think that's a very good thing. And I also want to just quickly, highlight that I've had this experience where I've asked a question, walked into a bookstore, and I said, "Can I find this in one of your books here?" In my head. And I have gone there and I have just laid my hand on a certain book, opened up a certain page, and found the answer that I was looking for. And it has happened more than once for me to say that this has been a very repetitive process. So I think because when you ask with a clear heart and intention, the universe delivers. I think that's the message for our first podcast. And so this is who we are. We are short on time, so we're gonna wrap it up. But that's what we really wanted to say. That this is the big message for you. Ask and you shall receive. So maybe this podcast, the fact that you kind of got this, you came here, is probably an answer to one of the questions you'd asked with a very clear heart and intention. We really hope it's that. And we will continue to answer more questions in our upcoming podcasts. And we will bring like really interesting episodes and, share with you some insights, share our notes. And you're going to sort of see us being very raw, being very unfiltered, because we don't do scripts. So these are just open-ended conversations. Stay connected and subscribe to our channel so that we do get the motivation to record more such podcast episodes, which we will do anyway because we do feel immensely guided to do so. So yes, and help us with some comments to let us know what would you like us to cover in our upcoming podcasts, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.